Hey there, it's Jen from empathicmastery.com. If you want to get a copy of the book, empathicmasterybook.com. But that's not why I'm here. I am here because my friend Dawn Delvecchio, who is this amazing, kick-ass woman of power, is here to talk about the return of the Priestess, which is this incredible event that Dawn is hosting starting next week. And I am incredibly honored and delighted to be part of it. And I really wanted to let other people know about it and invite them to come and join us. So here we are having a conversation about what it means and what this is all about. So welcome, Dawn. Please, please, please tell
Hi.
us more.
Yes, hi. Thank you so
Hi.
much, Jen, for bringing me into your group. And hello, sisters out there. So happy to be here. So, let me connect in. So Return of the Priestess, the words came to me in a meditation about 6 months ago. I've been on the path of the Priestess for almost 36 years now. Easy to track because it was right after my son was born. So I sat with that Return of the Priestess for a while. I have been called for a long time to step up into a bigger role in regard to leadership, but I wasn't sure yet how to do that. And the picture began to unfold that what was mine to do in these times was to call the priestesses together, to pull together a group of women who have been walking the path of the priestess, of the empowered, sacred feminine leader, and amplify our energy, basically, amplify our messages, amplify our reach and our impact. And I had no idea of what was going to be going down on the planet when all of this began to roll out. So, yeah, so that's the sort of big picture of
Big
it.
picture. Yeah, and I mean, I think about when you first reached out to me about it, none of us had any idea that that we were going to be going through this global initiation. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's not business as usual. Everything is changing right now. And I just and stepping into our power is such an important part of this process.
Yes, and stepping into what is ours to do, I would say. One of the things that I'm noticing, both connecting with some very extraordinary feminine leaders in the women's spirituality movement who are understanding the feminine principles, as well as those who are not yet in clarity about what their mission or their purpose is that since all of this started happening, we feel activated. We feel activated to serve and to lead, to get clear about what our mission, our purpose, our vision is, and to be available for this midwifing of a new world. Because a lot of stuff is coming down, a lot more is going to come down. And where are we in terms of our grounded alignment with ourselves, our soul, and our divinity within? And that's so for those who haven't been on a spiritual path, many are struggling right now. And for those who have been, they're in leadership roles, and it's time now to really, it's go time.
It really is go time. And, something that you and I sort of were talking about kind of before all of this sort of hit the fan, where I was talking about, just sort of the whole thing of the call to being a priestess, the call to stepping into our power, and the difference between that and the whole sort of commoditization of spirituality and the whole kind of like, the 6-figure priestess or the 7-figure priestess thing. And just how I wonder sometimes if one of the challenges that have come up is that not only are we dealing with the internal deep level of call within ourselves about what it is that we're here to do, but then there's this whole weird, am I marketing it correctly? Am I, like, like the response or the requirement or the belief that somehow if we're not, quote, succeeding doing this, that somehow we are not answering the call correctly, or, but just that whole piece. And, you and I have been on the path for a really long time, and on the path way before it was all about, before money got as involved in this world as it is now. So, I mean, I guess sort of that's just some thoughts that I have about, what does it mean in this day and age to step into our power, and how much of it really has anything to do with marketing and running a six-figure business and being a successful entrepreneurial priestess.
Right. Yeah. Oh, there's a few things I want to address here. I want to tease out. So let me just see. The first piece is, what I'm going to say is this. You're on mission when everything falls into place. And often that can mean financial support, but it doesn't necessarily mean like from that thing. Mm-hmm. For example, as this started coming, my husband sells real estate in Sedona. Well, that's kaput right now. But he had all this stuff all of a sudden, like all of this stuff had flooded in at the end of last year. So all of a sudden we're being floated, and he's home cooking for me while I am spinning plates and herding cats to put this thing together. So when I look at the support, the align, everything just coalesced. So, and it didn't necessarily look like, wow, I'm raking in the six figures. No, I'm a professional writer. Most of my money comes from my professional writing. But the flow of it, I keep getting this image of this flow of the fingers coming together. That's when you know. Now, the second piece I want to say is this. There are hundreds of thousands, probably millions of us, starseeds, light workers, empaths, priestesses around the earth right now. We came in waves for a reason. And not all of us are supposed to have big, here I am, We are here to serve in the ways that our skills and abilities have prepared us for. I happen to be a communicator. I have strongly cultivated teaching skills through the martial arts, through many things. Strongly cultivated writing skills as a journalist, as a copywriter, many things. Again, all of a sudden, they're all being pulled in to the spiritual roots that I began in my late teens. So I feel like we know when we're on purpose, when things coalesce in that way, when we feel that sense of alignment. Now, some people are here to have big businesses, big image. I like to think of people like Jack Canfield. Okay, he's not a priestess, obviously. But he had to set a big reach, and Wayne Dyer and Louise Hay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We needed them to do that.
Yeah.
Marianne Williamson. There are many, many, right? So then it's a matter of how aligned we are. And the thing is, those businesses that, we're going to see this more and more in the years ahead, that have developed just to rake in the dough with savvy marketing, but a emptiness inside, they're going to have a little steam still, because they're leveraging the internet, and some of us who've been working quietly behind the scenes don't know how to do that, but it's going to change. I feel like the more aligned we are right now with our soul's sacred intent, priestesses, starseeds, healers, energy workers, the more we're going to find the ways that we are supported in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and something you said a little while ago about support comes from many sources. I think that in many ways can be one of the biggest challenges that comes up for people, is the idea that the support is supposed to look a certain way. And so because we make the assumption that we're going to get supported by this one thing, we then in some ways don't do our job or don't do our work because we are expecting, we're looking for metrics or proof of
Right.
how it's going to show up. Now, we just got a comment from somebody, Jessica, who's saying, "What are we discussing?" So, hi there, Jessica.
Hi,
Welcome
Jessica.
to my page and welcome to our world. So, I'm having a conversation with my dear friend Dawn Delvecchio, who is this amazing, kick-ass, magical powerhouse of a woman and priestess and writer, and has been called to lead other women. And one of the things that she's going to be doing is running an event that is really juicy, amazing, many, many days, called The Return of the Priestess. That's going to be happening starting on the 20th with all kinds of presenters, including yours truly. And I'm really excited because I'm going to be talking about being highly sensitive and empathic, and what it means to deal as a sensitive empath in times of great transformation and change. So Dawn is running Return of the Priestess. You can access Return of the Priestess through my handy dandy link, which is, I posted it in the link above, but I believe it is returnofthepriestess.com, correct?
Yep.
And then /J, my initial, MOORE. So I do believe is the correct URL for that. And I will put it into the description after we're done with the Facebook Live, but we were having some technical difficulties. But this is an event where, Dawn, you were saying we have 6 out of the 7 continents being represented.
Yes, we have priestesses and wise women elders from multicultural and multi-continent. They're coming in from all of them. So I didn't find any Antarctic priestesses, but I have to confess I didn't look.
Well, and I'm not sure how many people who aren't on some kind of a science station would actually be. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, we have very diverse lineages. We have South America, we have the New Zealand, Australia, we have Asia, we have the Americas. So there's quite a diverse range of speakers on a wide range of topics. And by the way, this is free. This is a totally free event. Yeah. So this is really, we are calling together the women who feel the call to reconnect, to activate our potential, and to stand in our feminine power, embody our spirits, and feel the support of the sisterhood so that we can go out in our respective worlds and serve and lead in whatever way we are uniquely designed to do.
This is just so awesome, and not only is it free, but it also is unlike some of these kinds of events where people have 24 hours to watch the recordings. This, you've got 48 hours for each presentation. And I know that you also are making it available that if somebody wants to purchase the whole thing, they will be able to acquire access to the whole thing. And if I recall correctly, 50% of the proceeds are going to a nonprofit domestic violence shelter.
No, it's refugees, protection of refugees.
Protection of refugees. Okay.
Yeah. So this is, I'll talk a little about this because I personally vetted this. So for those of you you guys probably don't know me, but Jen, you know me.
Yes.
I live in Thailand for part of the year, and Thailand is very dear to my heart. I used to live there full time. That's where I healed after my deepest, darkest night of the soul. So, became a writer and all of that. Became empowered in my own career and my own self. So now I go back every winter. So Thai Freedom House was started by one woman who is in her own right a priestess. She does a lot with sacred sexuality and other things. But she basically developed a vegan restaurant and a zero waste store with healthy ingredients and a secondhand store. All the proceeds go to support Burmese refugees or Myanmar refugees on the border of northern Thailand. They resource them, they educate them, they teach them about their rights as refugees in Thailand, and they bring them love and family. And the food at the restaurant is amazing. And the woman who started it, Lisa Bird, is an amazing, amazing woman. So I knew I wanted to give 50% to charity, and there are so many to choose from. And I looked at so many, and I chose this one because I know her personally. I've eaten at the restaurant. I've bought from the store. I can say for sure that this is the real deal. It's not going into administrators' hands, and many charities are good, but then there are some of those big ones that are kind of like, well, where is my money going? I'm not sure.
Right.
This is going right to the people, and many children and women, and some men, but mostly children and women.
Oh, that is just, what a wonderful organization to be supporting. That's just sounds so good. And I love the fact that this is, there's 0 degrees of separation, that this is supporting an organization that's vetted through your own personal experience. So you know that what's going to be happening. Yeah. Awesome. So Jessica is saying she wants to support the charity, and that she also has people in New Zealand, and she also says she knows some people that she will pass the word on to. So please, anybody who's watching this right now, please share. Please, if you have, and hi there, Rosangela, you're Italian and you want to write an inspiring book about your life and how spirit helped you and your children. That sounds amazing. Rosangela, this is a place where we are coming together as priestesses. We are coming together as women of power and supporting each other in shining, which actually leads me to a thought about, the new paradigm of women supporting women as opposed to the old paradigm of women competing with women. And, just how incredibly important it is for us to create these spaces of sisterhood and support where we are connected, we are supporting, where your vision and my vision are in harmony as opposed to in competition.
Yeah, I have one of my favorite sayings, which those who work with me know, is lift as we rise. Yeah, and I'll tell just a quick backstory on that. When I was in university, I have an undergraduate degree in feminist studies, and I went to a feminist conference in my freshman year, and I saw Angela Davis speak. Now, Angela Davis was famous as a Black Panther back in the 60s. She became a feminist scholar, and she was the keynote speaker, and her whole thing was about the way at that time in academia women would climb over each other for tenure. And we see this in corporate. I mean, this is the story, right? You have hierarchical structures based on a male domination model, and women come into that structure wanting power, and they have to play that game and climb over each other, and and before that it was competing with each other for men or whatever. And what she was saying, and this is back in, it would have to have been 87 maybe, we must lift as we climb, she said. Lift as we climb. So that's been with me all these years, and I just switched it to lift as we rise, because now it's not, we don't need to do this anymore. Take that hierarchy down. This is about us rising together as a sisterhood, supporting each other, activating each other through witness, through care, through sharing of resources and ideas and inspiration. And more and more and more women worldwide are tuning into this and stepping into this and holding each other for this rise.
So true. And I've been I don't know if you've been checking out Glennon Doyle's newest book, Untamed. If you have not, it's so good. And, so I've been listening a lot I've been watching Glennon, and I've been listening to her, and I've been listening to her the audiobook Untamed, and she's talking about this call of women to stop being domesticated, to step away from all of the ways that we compete with each other, that we fritter away so much of our time and energy focused on our appearance and whether we're desirable and whether we're nice, and just all of these pieces of being, like what we do and the ways we diminish and in many ways completely deny our own truth and our own voices in order to be the good girl. And, I just think that so much of what we're being called to do right now is to stop playing, and especially stop playing a game that is harmful not only to ourselves but to our entire planet.
Yeah. 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 It is time for the feminine principles to rise, and that's within women and men.
Yes.
The principles of care, of considering what is the long-term impact of the seventh generation ahead, considering the context with which we do things, having empathy, coming from connecting the heart and the mind so that we don't just have a good idea, go through, try and create it from the mind alone without bringing the heart in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's something about the body too that's coming up for me here, the wildness and the untamedness and coming back into the body. And we do have some speakers talking about sexual sovereignty, talking about sensuality. We have lived in at least 6,000 years of a system of domination that has denigrated both the feminine and the physical body, and shamed the feminine and burned the feminine at the stake for our sexual energy, which is the creative life force energy. So as we embody our spirit, as we come in and own ourselves just as we are, our curvy bodies, our skinny bodies, our whatever, the color of our skin, all of it, we access so much more of our potential. And the series, Return of the Priestess, certainly that would be, I would say, one of the pillars of the pillars of it, is that sacred embodiment and the reclaiming of our sensual, our physical beings and our divinity that can come in and be within the physical as we live our lives.
Which, preach, it's so incredibly important. So it occurs to me, we've talked about that this event is, that people who decide to upgrade to the paid keeper version will be supporting this amazing organization that's helping refugees in Thailand. And we've also talked about the fact that we've got priestesses and elder women and wise women and medicine women speaking from all over the continent, all over the planet, like all of every continent except the coldest one. And that we've got, just quite a variation of things, including some women talking about the embodiment of our power and our sovereignty, our sexual sovereignty. Can you share some of the, some of the additional, Jessica's writing, this is why the 6 leaders that are handling the global pandemic the best are the women.
Are women, yes.
We use our minds and our hearts and our soul, absolutely, yeah. And we, thankfully, here in Maine, we have a female governor, and she is being very reasonable and is making good suggestions. And there have been numbers of times where we've been thanking the gods that for Janet Mills. So here in Maine. But so I'm just thinking, can you share a few sort of highlights of some of the things that are going to be happening in this?
Yes, absolutely. So we do have several women talking about the goddess and goddesses, and we also have priestesses who are more ceremonial in nature, talking about experiences in ceremony. We have a couple of women who've worked deeply with Mother Mary, and also revealing one woman who is a scholar who's revealing some of the research on the secret priestess rites that Mother Mary is part of the lineage of, as well as the Magdalens. We have every single one of the interviews, as you know, Jen, is not just a conversation. There's an activation, guided meditation, prayer, or blessing, or transmission of energy. So there's an experience in each one. Yeah, we have some where we're teaching certain kinds of grounding meditations where you're connecting with the earth and sky. There are crystal healing bowls. Another woman brings the Magdalene crystal bowl to initiate your priestess energy. So many things. It's quite extraordinary experience. We have elders. We have a Maori elder who talks a little bit about her tradition, and some, wise women witches who've been on the path for decades. We talk about shadow. That's going to be another one of our speakers is a shadow expert trained with Debbie Ford directly. So she brings some great insights because that is a key piece of our work in these times.
You were saying she trained with Debbie Ford. Oh,
The late Debbie Ford.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Dark Side
Monica.
of and
So,
Dark Side of the Light Chasers, correct?
yes,
Yes, which
yeah.
so Jessica, where do you start? Jessica was saying she can hardly wait, and I have to say, as we're having this conversation, I'm like, oh, this is better than like Lollapalooza. This is going to be so awesome. It's kind
Yeah,
of like,
because right now,
yeah.
oh, sorry, go
I
ahead.
was just going to say it's kind of like Lilith Fair or Lollapalooza for the priestesses. Yeah, yeah,
Wow, thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, because all you've experienced is your interview right now,
right,
but
right,
when you see,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it is going to be so incredibly amazing. And so, Jessica and other people who are watching, to get access to it, returnofthepriestess.com. And so that you people know, Dawn knows that you guys showed up through me. If you just go /J Moore, JMOORE, that will get you there. I will be putting a link on this once I'm not live and navigating this interview and everything. But I just have to say, like, what you're describing just sounds like the best, like, it's like the best summer camp intensive experience ever. Like, it just sounds so delicious.
It really is delicious. And, the only thing I would say that could be more delicious was if we could all do it in person. Of course, even if we didn't have the restrictions we have right now, to gather 30 priestesses who are busy doing their own leadership in one place at one time would be its own goddess miracle. So this is really, it is an extraordinary opportunity to pick and choose which priestesses resonate for you, which teachings do you feel most connected to. My assistant, who is helping with the Facebook group, we have a private Facebook group which is already intensely active. She's been going through all of the videos, so all of the recordings of these interviews. She's been going through them, and I can tell you she's being activated left, right, and center. It's a little bit maybe kind of a lot for her, but because I've done all the interviews, and I have definitely experienced some intense activations, and I'm also holding the space and managing the technology. So I'm in both at once, but she's just in the sort of receivership mode. And I can tell you that she's having accelerations of certain awarenesses, growth, insights, embodiments. I mean, the whole thing, it's like I'm getting to really see the impact of it through my conversations with her on how it's affecting her. So it's exciting to think of how many women worldwide, thousands, are going to be activated all in this coming week, coming 10
Absolutely.
days.
And then for a chance for a replay too, to be able to go back in and check it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody else was just commenting about just how wonderful it is that we have the technology to gather. And I was thinking, it's like there's a couple things that I see as actually good about the way that we're being able to gather virtually these days. One is that we're not compromising the carbon footprint, and that it's like I really started thinking about like the impact of these world retreats where it's like people are flying all over the place and just, what does it mean? But also just for those of us who are more on the introverted side or the ambivert side, to be able to process the content and the information at our own pace as opposed to having to watch something or be part of it at, like, the workshop is happening at this specific hour, and you have to, and you just had lunch and your stomach is bothering you, but you really want to be at the workshop. There's something so glorious about having the opportunity to process this virtually in a way that allows us to pace ourselves.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I know you and I had talked about the whole carbon footprint thing when I was interviewing you just about retreats in general and your interests. And suddenly, boom, it's stopped. And it's always good to look at the blessings of things. And this other piece about at your own pace, integration is also really nice. So I would say, definitely set up a beautiful space to experience this.
Yeah. And I'm just really hearing, as a presenter, I can really see myself also being able to be a recipient, in the sense of that this is an opportunity for us to really be nourished by each other, and an opportunity to really take in the medicine and allowing ourselves to get what it is that we need, and see where we're led.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
because there's so much diversity among the speakers that you will find there might be some that you just don't resonate with,
right.
And that's great, because there will be others that are just, it's like, oh, this is exactly what I was needing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be so amazing. So, I was, I asked you, or I mentioned before we jumped on, let's just, acknowledge the elephant in the middle of the room. The world is changing radically and faster than we can even imagine. And so, I know for myself that that's really, I'm actually really seeing this whole experience as there's many octaves, but there's two sort of octaves or sides to the coin of this epidemic. There's the lower octave, which is getting sucked into the fear and the chaos and the all the distress that's going on, and getting really activated and triggered and being in fight, flight, or freeze mode. But then what I'm also seeing is that it is a crucible of amplification that is really, really revealing the stuff that's not yet healed. And we have the opportunity to use this to shift the stuff that is still, is our personal work. And I'll just say that one of the things that I've been really noticing for myself and for a number of people is the Cassandra complex issue of being listened to and taken seriously. And, just the feeling of, when I'm speaking the truth, being heard. So, and I've known people who've been, like, writing to people and saying, hey, I know somebody who, back in February, she started sending emails out to her friends and family saying, you got to go get your groceries now. Like, please go prepare. And everybody was like, yeah, you've got an overactive imagination. And, and it's like, but what I'm finding is, like, this is an opportunity to stand in our convictions, and also to get really clear about what my boundaries are, and, what my truth is, and also, honestly, to give 0 Fs about the people who are just acting kind of cray these days and saying things that are just nuts. But that's my sense of it. But I'd love to hear, like, what you are, what's been your big work? What's been, like, how are you showing up for this process? How are you showing up for this time? How are you coping with this time? What are the big lessons for you?
Okay. So I've known for many years that something was going to shift. I feel very much, that we came for these times. I've known it for, I would say, a couple of decades.
Yep.
So on the 3D practical level, we have food and water supplies. I've been refilling water bottles for a long time. If it's a dish soap bottle, that's water we would use for cleaning. Hopefully it won't come to that, but we have a 2-car garage, so we're prepared. We've saved some cash. So that's like actual cash. Not a lot, but enough where it's not just all in a bank, some digital somewhere. So that's that 3D piece. My awareness is very much, as you said, that this is a crucible where all of the stuff that has not yet been processed is coming up. So what that means is that exactly that. If you've had things you've been burying under the carpet, in the closet, in the basement, the attic, consciously or subconsciously, they're likely to come up because this energy is an inward turn. Yes. We're turning inward, and so many people have been so busy chasing, running, going, this, that, hither and yon, making ends meet, that they haven't had the time to even sit, or they just turn on the TV. Eventually they're going to get bored with that. So it's an inward turn. So for myself personally, I have just gone through 2.5 deep years of A Course in Miracles, clarifying my minds of the obstructions of love's presence, doing deep, deep forgiveness work on many levels, and really elevating my capacity to be a channel, to receive clear channel guidance from my master teachers in the non-physical, to let things go, to accept myself, and that puts me personally in a position to serve much more effectively at this time. And how I serve, right now, this project has been so huge that it's taken up most of my time. But it's going to come to an end now pretty soon. And then how will I serve? Well, what's showing up in my field? Is it something I need to forgive in myself? Is it a friend or a family member? Are there people who need, contributing? I'm contributing money. Where are the places where it's arising for me? And I think that's really got to be true for all of us, because none of us can get on our, shiny armor and get on our white horse and rescue everybody. What's showing up in front of us to heal, to forgive, to serve, to support? That's really all we can do.
Absolutely. Well, and as you were speaking, I was thinking, as I was mentioning, I've been kind of grooving on Glennon Doyle lately. And yesterday I was watching this Facebook Live she did where she was talking about how in this time of coronavirus and the disruption that's been going on, and she's is a self-admitted recovering addict, alcoholic, but also recovering bulimic with an eating disorder. And she was saying that with this sort of change that's going on, she's having days where upwards of 50% of her time and energy is focused on body image and what she's eating. And, and this is a woman who's really far along. This is a woman who's been doing her work for a really, really long time. And, but it's sort of like, it doesn't necessarily have to be this really big, grand, like massive, like suddenly we're healing like a past life experience of getting burned at the stake or something. It can be learning to love ourselves and deal with this deep wound around our body image and our self-love and our self-acceptance, that it shows up in a lot of different ways. And I love that you spoke to, and you're talking about the imperative of forgiveness. I think that, we could do an entire episode just on forgiveness, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's deeply valuable right now, because in the end, ultimately, it's our frequency that matters. So if we spend our time silently in our minds doing battle with X, Y, or Z, it could be a person, it could be your body image, it doesn't matter what it is. This negative self-talk, you're washing the dishes or putting stuff in the fridge or whatever it is, that stuff matters. It becomes matter eventually. So the more we can do our own forgiveness, forgiving ourselves, releasing it, letting it go, surrendering it as soon as we recognize it going on, we shed the 1,000-pound bag of boulders we're dragging around. And we don't bring the past into the future. We don't bring the wounds of the past and then pave the way for somebody else to show up in that same pattern as the past one.
And conflate the past with the present experience so that we are not even able to see this without blinders on and with the assumption of that this is because this similar thing, I'm triggered by this similar event, that means this, and this is all going to be what's going to come next. So that it's almost like it becomes that self-fulfilling process and prophecy. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it is just that release and that forgiveness and that letting it all go. And I can't agree with you more about like just, how many times are we doing our dishes and we're in that state of like indignation and and just I'm seeing sadly so much divisiveness and so much divide and polarization going on in the world right now, but also just so many people who are well intentioned, but they're just so angry right now.
Mm.
And I personally believe that anger is a fear. It is just it is a it's the core of fear. It's one of the ways we handle it is fight. So
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a saying in the Course in Miracles that everything is either an expression of love, or a call for love. And I've noticed a few things have come up in my field of attack that's actually asking for help. Now, when I say attack, I don't mean someone's coming at me with a weapon. I don't mean that. It's just aggressive words
Yes.
when actually they're asking for my help.
Yes.
And of course, that doesn't work. There's the old saying of you could attract more flies with honey than vinegar.
Right.
But the point being that I think what's important in these times is that we do whatever we can to not let ourselves be triggered by that behavior if it shows up in our field. And then if it shows up for us personally, because it can, all of that stuff, like you said, the crucible of it's coming up. Go to the tools that we have to do the work, to reduce the stress, to do the self-forgiveness, to do the self-love, self-care. How can you return to a more balanced place of, love and acceptance of yourself first before you go out there to try and deal with anyone else? And I know, Jen, you have amazing tools to help people with that.
Thankfully I do, and I'm incredibly grateful for them because believe me, I need them myself these days. Yeah, oh, Dawn, it really has been such a delight. It's amazing. We've been talking for like 42
Wow.
minutes already. This conversation has just whipped by, and I guess is there anything? Is there anything that feels like, a message that you feel like is really important to share that, like, what else do what is like we must do before we say adios for now?
Well, I think it's important to keep remembering that no matter what comes our way in the weeks and months ahead, because it could start to look kind of scary. I have a feeling it's going to get uglier before it gets better. To really ground and center yourself. Connect with your spirit guides, your angels, your spiritual practice deeply.
Yes.
Your light is needed right now.
Yes.
If things come up, arise in you to be healed, feel your feelings, let them come through, not because it's the end of the world, because you will liberate, but because you're going to liberate yourself so that you can be a bearer of light, because we need us all right now.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
The light will come again. The light is coming again to this earth, but it could be a little while. I don't know what a little while is, a few months, a few years, but I feel certain that we are not on a timeline that's going to take us to an Armageddon. I just know it. But it could look scary for a little while. So hold fast.
It's like labor, It's like
Yeah.
it sucks. There's that point in the birthing process that is just, no matter how you slice it, unless you came from the farm and you're like one of Ina May Gaskin's people and think that you can somehow make a birth contraction orgasmic, which I'm like, I remember reading
Didn't
that.
happen for me.
No, I remember reading that at like the age of 18 or 19 years old and thinking, oh my God, I want to have a baby so I can do that. And I'm like, yeah, well, but considering that probably most human beings, women on the planet who've given birth, will say that, yeah, there's a point where it really sucks. I think that that's what we're going through right now, is that birthing a new world is just as hard as birthing a baby, and it is not easy. And, you know, I actually want to comment. I was watching Chris Como, of all people, on the news last night, who's just coming out of being really sick with coronavirus. And for a complete muggle, he said something that blew my mind, which was that he acknowledged, he looked right at the camera and he said, this illness is not just physical. He said, this illness is mental and emotional, and like, he didn't necessarily use the words energetic and spiritual, but what he said is, this is an illness of fear and depression and anxiety and brain fog and disorientation and confusion, as much as it is a physical illness. And I just got chills, because I have gotten downloads about the more energetic side of this illness. And it's like, it's very easy to succumb to the fear when there's an epidemic of fear all over our planet right now.
Yes, yeah, it's really important that we don't go there. I mean, we know that very few people actually die. So, if you have a loved one who is vulnerable, of course, there is a lot of feeling arising, of course. But fear is not a very resource state to be. And we can feel it. We can feel it. But we can't make our decisions from it.
No,
that's the distinction.
Well, and I posted something earlier today that just basically said, respect for the quarantine is not succumbing to fear. That it is possible to be calm and concerned simultaneously. That we can honor the gravity of what's going on, and not lightwash it, because, talking about Debbie Ford and light chasing and denial of the shadow, I do see some people who are just like off in la la land about, like, this is just awesome, and if it's your destiny to die, then hey, you're just going to go someplace else. And I'm like, can we be a little bit more sensitive to the fact that we're in human bodies and this is scary? But I think that it really is like, we feel the feeling, as you were talking about earlier. We show up and accept that the feeling is there. And we make choices based on calm, grounded, being present in our light, as opposed to being projecting from our head. And, for me, this just keeps coming back to, I can be awfulizing in my head, or I can be loving in my heart. And I can be in the future, the past and the future in my head, or I can be in the here and now in my heart. And just coming back again and again to this. And I also was just thinking about the line in the song by Leonard Cohen, where it's like, ring the bells that still can ring, But basically, there is a crack in everything. That is how the light gets in. And the world is cracking right now in order for the light to come back.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
Beautiful vision.
So good. So, people, Return of the Priestess, and to be one of the people, and to show it off as having come through me. You can go to
please, we'd like to know that.
/ J Moore, JMOORE, and you can go sign up for free. It's going to be an amazing event. We're already a flutter over in the group and doing our thing and having a blast. And Dawn, I just want to say a couple things. One, thank you for being willing to endure your dark night of the soul. And for having the willingness to endure it, to keep putting your feet one foot in front of another, and for finding the truth within you, and for listening to the call, because that's huge.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
Thank you for creating a space where so many of us get to come together and connect and love and step into our power and step into our light and really just like rock this amazing time. So
Yes.
I am so grateful to be part of this. I've been really pulling back from participating in summits. I know we had the conversation about that, but yours was the one where I was like, if I'm going to do one summit this year, this is the one event that I want to be part of a group thing with. So
Thank you. It's such
thank
an honor
you.
to have you and a
Oh,
joy. So,
yeah.
yeah, and it's a deep honor to and a joy to do what is mine to do. So may we all do what is ours to do. And sisters, please join us because this is going to be an unprecedented event for women.
It is going to be an unprecedented event. It's going to be amazing, amazing, amazing. And oh, thank you so much for all of the jewels of wisdom you shared today. Thank you for, I feel like one of my personal takeaways from this is just the reminder of when we need it, the support shows up, but it doesn't always show up in the form we thought it was going to show up in. Because I am being absolutely carried right now, and it looks a little different than what I expected, but it's giving me the opportunity to do the work. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Good one.
yeah. Oh,
Thank you,
thank
Jen. Thank
you,
you, thank you. Thank
Dawn.
you,
Thank
everyone.
you all for being here. Please, hey, you guys, this conversation is just the tip of the iceberg. And if you know other women who are just raring to go, are ready to be activated, I'm like, where is it? Over here. Hit the share button. You know? And please, if you have friends who are a little bit more shy or introverted, hit the share button and send it to them as a private message and say, check this out. Check out this woman. Check out these women. Check out what they're doing. I think you'd really love it. You know, and go and sign up over at returnofthepriestess.com/jmore and be part of this with us. But again, please hit share, pass this along to other people who could find this useful. We are in a time where we need hope, we need support, and we need to be hearing the true, as opposed to all of the conflated mishigas that is going on in the world around us. So, Dawn, thank you so much for being part of this.
Yes.
What a pleasure.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
awesome. Yay. Mwah. Okay, I am going to hit the live button and we're going to be done. Okay. And broadcast.